2. Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to today. I'm JC. I'm the Youth Media Collective Program Manager here at Listen Up Youth Radio. And
Go for it.
And I'm Keen, and I'm a producer and a facilitator.
And I'm Rena. I'm also a producer and a facilitator.
yes, so today we're here because we're doing a youth forum. But before we start our youth forum, there are 2 important events that we would like to share with you all.
The first important event, you guys. We would like to wish the happiest 18th birthday to Mia, who is our youth producer,
who's also part of the Youth Media Collective, but also has hosts a radio show.
Radio shows, Awkweird, which is ended now. But the new show, Artopedia, I think it's every 3rd Friday on KRSM.
Yes.
3rd Friday of the month, or maybe not 3rd Friday of the month. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, happy birthday, Mia. We love you. Happy 18th. Mia is a Listen Up legend. So yeah.
Yes.
Take care, Mia. Love you. Secondly,
today is also Give to the Max Day. So for those who don't know, Give to the Max Day is Minnesota's largest fundraising day of the year. So very significant. And for this Give to the Max Day, we are raising money for our youth programs here at Listen Up, but also our new podcast in partnership with the Alive Podcast Network called Youth Soup. And so you can find us on givemn.com or via the link in our bio on our Instagram page at Listen Up Youth Radio. And any amount that makes sense for you helps us in the work that we do, and we appreciate whatever amount you can give. And
so before we dive into our forum, we'd like to take a couple minutes and highlight an audio story that Keen did last year. So take it away. Is it
going?
So I made it this year.
Made it this year?
Is the way. Is it
Is it going?
So I made it this year.
Made it this year?
Is the way.
Growing up and leaving everything I know is kind of scary if you think about it, because we have to think about things we've never had to do technically, things like taxes and paying certain bills we never spoke about in school, or growing up and leaving everything I know. We were just told adulting is something that's a new chapter because in our lives. Because we have to think about things we never had prepared for certain things at all. Things like they just gave us the age and when we're adults, and that being the ticket into our lives. We were just told adulting is something that's a new chapter in our lives.
I think friendships in high school are really interesting because especially as you grow older, you evolve and your friend groups evolve, and you kind of determine who you want in life in your future, and it's definitely a really interesting thing to see.
Can you say more about that?
I've made a lot of friends over the years, and I feel both good and bad. It's a lot of trial and error, and I think people have this really overwhelming pressure to get it right the first time. It's have a clique or a group to stay with the whole time. But I think as you grow older, you change as a person, you evolve. You're not the same person you were as a freshman than you are as a senior, or if you are a senior listening to this. So, don't feel you have to have that pressure to have a set friend group and stuff like that, because you never know.
Do you think your friendships are going to last from high school, or do you think everything is going to naturally fall apart?
Well, I honestly, if I'm being honest for a minute, I feel some of my friend groups and friendships will definitely just, fall apart the older we get, because that's just how life is. You grow apart. But I feel I've definitely made friends over the years that I'll keep with me for as long as I can, or hopefully for the rest of my life.
And now, here's a few words from the both of us. Is there some things you wish you've done in high school right now or thought of as a senior?
Well, for one, I really wish that I went to the games as a freshman, sophomore, junior. I think a lot of people, like, Keen's shaking her head right now, but a lot of people always think those are so lame. But it's not even about the game. I mean it is, but like, whatever. Like, it's not about the game. It's about like the memories you make. Like, I went to the homecoming game this year and it was really fun. I had a lot of fun with my friends and stuff like that. And more or less, it's just like it's about the experience. So don't feel like you're like it's lame or like your team will lose or whatever. Just go and have fun.
I definitely agree but disagree. You know why?
Why?
I didn't even want to be there. I hung out with Sylvie and talked about Yuri on Ice. And
Yuri on Ice?
yeah, and I went home at 3 a.m. I don't want to talk about what happened after. No, she was in band. I was in the band area. And then I saw like Anaya and we hung out.
That's crazy. Yuri on Ice for 5 hours straight. That's a lot. That's a lot of Yuri on Ice.
No, because I was also reading books. But what did you do there?
At the games? Yeah. Okay, I'd be lying if I said I went for the team. Because, like, I don't know, our school football team really sucks. So, I don't know. Like, no shade to, the Orioles. We all suck. So, I really just went just to see, because I went to, see my friends, experience that park pride they keep telling us about. Kind of sucked, but I'm glad I went anyways, though.
Are you looking forward to graduation? And do you have like mixed feelings how life is going to be after we leave like everything we know, aka like school?
So, for one, I'm just ready to graduate, get it over with, do all that. But at the same time, like you grow up and you realize that like you've been in the same routine, especially at least for me. Ever since kindergarten, I've probably woken up at like 6 in the morning and came back home around 3 in the afternoon, almost every single day, besides the summer, obviously, and like breaks, for the last like 12 years. So it's gonna be interesting to try and like break away from that pattern of waking up early and like just trying to find myself in the world, going on after graduation. And like I'm gonna miss seeing people every day and stuff like that, and just I don't know, like seeing people around the building and just doing stupid things. But everyone has to move on at some point.
Yeah, I agree, but like, isn't it kind of relief that we're kind of leaving high school and we might like see like, oh, this works or that works, like, you know what I mean, with friends, and like figure out like what you actually like instead of like sticking to certain people, and have like people who actually care about you stay with you in your future instead of like, oh, this is my clique, so I have to stay there.
Yeah, I feel like almost everyone can relate to just having a friend that you just, or like having a friend group that you're really only with because you don't want to be alone in school, or like you just feel like you need to be around them. So I definitely agree with that. Like you kind of just have to find yourself, find your people, just find who you are. And if you and your friends' lives just kind of drift away from each other, then that's okay, because shit, that's just how it be. I'm definitely gonna look back on this, like I've made a lot of friends. I'm definitely gonna look back on high school because I made a lot of friends. I've experienced a lot of things. I've learned trial and error. It's just been a lot. So I've definitely, like, there are things I'll take away from high school that I can use for the rest of my life. And it's not gonna be algebra or the Pythagorean theorem. So excuse me, better get it together because no one's using that. But anyways, that aside, yeah, I'll definitely look back on this. People like to say, oh, you're gonna forget these years, and and that could be true. But at the same time, this is a period of everyone's lives. Regardless of whether you want it to be or not, it exists. So look back on it and see how you feel.
From Listen Up Youth Radio, I'm Keen.
Welcome back, y'all. So, Keen, do you want to like share anything about the process of making that audio piece, or like what it meant for you?
I feel like making that piece, it gave me more closure, if anything, because like it didn't feel real, because we're still in a pandemic in a sense, but like that was like peak pandemic. It was kind of a bit like crazy, like, oh my god, no way, it's like my last year in high school, I'm leaving everything I know, right? And I was like, okay, let's make an audio piece. So I made it with my friend because I feel like we'd both be comfortable talking about it, and it's like something we talked about before. So yeah, it's my little baby. And then and sorry, what was the first question?
No, just like how was the process like?
Oh, the process. I'd say like I've been thinking about it since like we brought up like the whole like we're gonna have a media showcase, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't put it into action. But then when I did, it kind of felt, in a sense, like yeah, it's over. Like high school's over, but like in a good way. Like oh, like I didn't think of it negatively. It's just like oh, that's just life. I'm gonna remember this. Especially like with the new friends I've made and people I still talk to till this day. Like that audio piece, at that time, I was friends with certain people and I still am till this day. So I'm pretty happy with that. So guys, high school isn't the end. Anyway.
All right.
Thank
Well, today's actual forum is going to be about youth-directed media and like what it looks like now, what we want it to look like in the future, and our own personal experiences with it. And to kick it off, our first question, very fun. What is your current favorite piece of media? If anyone wants to start,
Going first.
we need a second to think.
Oh, I have one in mind.
Okay.
Okay.
Recently I was watching this documentary film that's called Human, and it's on YouTube for free. But essentially, like this person, the director, like they went around a bunch of different countries all over the world and just like interviewed people, and asked them questions about like love, like what is love to you, or like he asked like women like, are you happy to be a woman, like, so, and then stuff about class, and I think just for me, it's really like stuck in my brain right now because at this point in my life I'm just being in college and like thinking about what I'm doing versus like what I'm doing in practice, what I'm learning versus what's in practice. Yeah, like I'm just thinking about what it means to be human, like what it means to exist in this life and what narratives I want to hear and like learn about and also share. And I think that my friend was the one who suggested that to me because we were like having a conversation, and then she was like, you should watch this. And I'm like, you're so right. It was beautiful. Just like hearing a bunch of different perspectives, and like they don't know that I know that they exist, but I know they exist. And yeah.
That's cute. Keen?
Like any form of social media.
Any form of media. I have mine if you want.
You can go.
Okay. So I have two. One is my current favorite song this week. It's called Thinking About You by Frankie and the Witch's Fingers. And my friend showed it to me, and I literally cannot stop listening to it. And then the other thing is my kind of pride and joy. I'm part of a like youth magazine or the youth zine organization based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Basically everyone lives there. Some people live across the country, like in New York or here. And we just released our 4th edition, and literally yesterday. And it is our love child. It is like it's called Marmalade. It's a zine, and you can buy it if you want to buy it at wisteriamagazine.org or .com. I don't know. And it is about the transition from like the end of summer to the beginning of fall, and the transitional period for a lot of people. Like at the time, a lot of people were like moving to college or moving back to college, or for me, not moving to college and just watching my brother go to college. So there's, whether it's about college or not, there was a lot of transitions going on in that time in our, like all of our lives. Like we're like a team of like 20, 25. And it was just a very transitional period for a lot of us, and bittersweet, and which is where we came up with the name. We were having a Zoom call, and it was like 9:00 at night, and we were so tired. We were trying to come up with a name. And one of our lovely, lovely people named Spriha was like, texted the Zoom chat and was like, you guys, Marmalade is made from a bitter orange, but it makes a sweet spread. And we're like, okay, everyone shut up. It's marmalade. And so 4 months later, we have marmalade. And I'm so proud of everyone. So yeah, those are my 2 current favorite pieces of media right now.
Okay. I'm so excited to buy it.
Oh my God, thanks.
Okay, for me, it's also a song called Perfect Places by Lorde. I know it's a cliche, but basically the song, in my opinion, it talks about like love, or just like little things in life, but also how like you grow up. And at that time, I think Lorde was like 19, so I kind of relate to it right now. And another is, guys, I've used Instagram, but not Instagram. I'm gonna be talking about like a specific account. I don't remember the name, but it's basically an edit account where, guys, I'm a film fanatic. Like, I love movies. It's like, it makes me feel like I'm home. And I like watching their edits because you can tell like they put so much love into it, but also it's like coming of age type of edits, like Perks of Being a Wallflower, Kill Your Darlings, and what's that one? Booksmart?
Yes.
That and like a lot of others, like older early 2000s. I love movies like that, and it makes me feel like at home, but also understanding other people's perspectives, like Perks of Being Wallflower. If you guys know about the movie, we're not going to talk about the movie, but there's a lot of things that many people can relate to, and I can actually really relate to most of the scenes about like being lonely, not like romantic lonely, but like depression. Anyways. I'm not like, it's just like relatable, like you can understand like things you can talk to close friends with. It's that type of thing. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Well, I guess moving on to our second question that we had, how did you guys end up in media / creating content of some sort? Oh, well, this is the assumption that you've made content, and I know you guys have. So.
Who wants to start?
I love how you guys are both looking at me. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Question was, what was it again?
How did you end up in media / creating?
I like making art. I like reading. So I started writing like, I think like elementary. Oh, middle school. Because I was so obsessed with the Land of Stories. That's when I started writing. And then like drawing and painting became more of a thing like towards the ending of middle school. And then that's when I started using Instagram a lot more. Like I've had it at a very young age when you're not supposed to, but that's when I used it as an outlet of expressing my feelings, not just like writing, like spamming my story, but also I used it like, I think like earlier 9th grade, like 10th grade, like my story ideas and stuff. So that's my form of art, but mostly painting and drawing. Yeah.
Me?
Or I can go. Okay, I can go. I mean, I would say that I have been like very what's the word? Like reading was like the thing I did, like the only thing I did for a very long time when I was really little. Me and my brother used to like just like we could read like 2 books a day. And my mom is always like, yeah, you know, you guys, I used to like have to like take a book away from you, and now I'm like, read more. Anyways, but so I feel like that my love of like writing and literature started very young. That sounds like I'm an English teacher. Oh my gosh.
Rena, you're 16.
I'm not.
What?
You're not? You're 15?
Shh.
Oh.
Secret. So my love of like literature and writing and creativity started very young, but I would say that when I really started being intentional about the things I make and the things I write was when I started with Wisteria in 2020, which was before I started with Listen Up. And honestly, I think that the things I learned about like intentionally creating media and intentionally sharing your stories and listening to others through Wisteria is probably why I was so excited to see Listen Up on like as an option for youth internships, and then getting connected with Listen Up, and then also during the pandemic, so much time to just spend, I don't know, like with your thoughts was kind of overwhelming. And I think I wrote a lot more poetry. Like I started writing more poetry again during the pandemic, and painting and drawing. I'm not very good at painting, guys. Painting is hard. And just kind of finding different ways to process things and like commemorate a lot of things in my life, even if they don't feel necessarily important, like in the grand scheme of things. If they feel important to me, I think that was a good, writing was a way of kind of communicating that. And 30 more seconds and then I'm going to stop talking. Okay. In the beginning of 6th grade, when I first moved to Minnesota, before COVID, before whatever, I think it was like 2018 or 2019, I decided that I was going to write letters to dead people because of this book. And it was like Love Letters to the Dead. And I read the book and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so quirky. And so I started writing letters to dead people. And then like
like random dead people or like
celebrities or like my family members. And then it became not just dead people, it became like anyone. And I have a stack of like 57 letters in envelopes in my room I stopped doing it after like 6 months, but there was a good chunk of time when I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote because I knew they would never read it. And that, I think, is what reignited my love for writing. So, and now I'm here and I love writing and it's all I do. So
very cool. I think for me, how did I get into creating media / content? I think my first memory is just like art. I'm a very like visual arts person. Like drawing and painting were the main things that I did. And in high school, that was my main focus. I was like, I want to be an artist. I want to be an animator, like yada yada. But then I think like media in terms of like audio and like that sort of realm, I didn't get introduced to it until like just like I got introduced to audio. Métis!
Hi, Métis.
Welcome, Métis. Welcome. Intermission. I don't know. This is Métis. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Métis Nago, and I've been with Listen Up for about 2 years now. And I just really love working with Listen Up because of the people I get to be around with, as you guys have probably been noticing up until now, because they're great. But yeah.
Just for context, we are answering the question, how did you end up in media / like creating content of some sort?
Also, if you want to answer the first question, because it's fun.
Yes.
It's what is your current favorite piece of media? It can be any media.
Okay.
So yeah, JC's gonna finish their
answering this question, and then yes. Anyway, art was like the main content that I was making, but then obviously like summer of 2020 or like just like all my life, I think my mind is very much in a like I perceive and see the world through a very like racialized lens, just because the environment that I've grown up in has always been predominantly like people who don't look like me, and like I reflect a lot of that of like my identity and culture through my art, and like with summer of 2020 there was like a lot of those sentiments that were being felt, and just a lot in terms of like racial justice. And that's when I heard of Listen Up the following fall. And I was like, you know what? I want to like find a way to like talk about something important or like representation of some sorts. And I saw audio and I was like, you know what? I've never done audio, but it's another form of art. It's auditory. And yeah, since then, now I feel like I've drifted away from like the visual arts and more like into audio and like 3D like sculpture-y stuff. Yeah.
Cool answer. I don't know. That's like a packed question because like I think I've always been used to like visual video media, and it goes back to like 6th grade when we were introduced to Minnesota History Day, and like the medium.
Do you want to get closer to the mic
Sorry,
a little bit?
I'll do this. It started back in 6th grade when we were introduced to Minnesota History Day, and like the medium that I chose to present my history project was the documentary. Like it's like you can either do a speech, documentary, skit, something else I don't remember. And I chose the documentary, and it's through that I like
Maybe a little bit closer. Sorry.
spit on it. I mean, that's fine. And that's how I was like introduced to putting together pieces of like visual media with audio, right? Because the audio still has to be good in a documentary. And it was like 10 minutes long, and it was about George Stinney Jr. Like that was my first one that got to a state competition, and it's through that I discovered that I'm passionate about media justice. And I think that's been consistent in my life, like with like even my own phone, like, you know, there's multiple videos where I find myself just putting like small, like, you know, 2-3 minute clips together when I have time. But with Listen Up, that first time that I was introduced to you guys with like the radio play, I think that's when I realized there's a lot you can do with just audio and without visual. And that was the first time I realized like how much emotion and expressive you can be with just your voice. And you don't necessarily need audio to get that across. And yeah, but I don't think I've delved into actually making audio media yet, if that makes any sense. I definitely, if you like look at my profile, it's more like visual, like videos, and I'm trying to get more into like the audio side of things. Yeah, so that's my answer.
It's like something I've noticed like in just like general conversations is that I think that a general consensus is that like figuring out how to like express what we want to express and tell the stories we want to tell just with audio has been like a really big roadblock, or like whatever, like what is it called, like a hoop to jump, I don't know, something. And like that's something I struggle with like literally every single day at work, because I'm like, how can I show like what I'm feeling if I can't even show my face? And so that's something that like it's a good challenge, I think. And like finding like right now in Listen Up, I'm finding ways to like incorporate film and audio, and just like learning how to show what you want to show with audio has been like it's a continuous process. It's like, yeah, it's like one of the best examples of like learning is not linear, because this is not like ups and downs. So yeah, it's just something I've noticed through all of us.
I mean, you saying that makes me think about, I think for me, like working on audio, like just the audio side of things, like making audio stories, I think when there's like a visual element involved, sometimes it takes away from like the words that are being said. And I think I like that through Listen Up, I've been able to like explore that, like what you say, or like just listening to people's voices. It's so intimate and it's in a certain way, and then you can really just pay attention to what they're saying and like listening to their truth. And I think that's something very special. And like I'm glad that now that's something, like I know what it feels like to listen to someone else's voice, and knowing that someone else is listening to my voice like right in their ear. It's a little personal, but it's in a good way.
I haven't thought about it that way, like that. Thank you for sharing that. And like, when I was little, we had always listened to NPR, and and I always felt like you're right, like it does feel really, really personal, even though it's being like NPR is like national, like so many people are hearing it, but it did really feel like that person was talking to me. So yeah.
And like going off of that, I always like go back to like radio in the car, right? And I think it's always so interesting how I find like, you know, you're randomly driving to somewhere that's far away, so the radio's on, and you come across a random station. You probably don't even know what the station is ahead of time, but like you come across one of those stations where they're telling a story and they're like there's two hosts laughing with each other. It always surprises me how I find that way more like personable and entertaining than like going home and watching Netflix or something like that. And I think I appreciated you bringing up the intimacy of it, because it's like, yeah, it is intimate. It's like you're literally sitting down and someone's like talking to you, and even maybe even more intimate than a face-to-face conversation, because like that person's being vulnerable on their own, you know, to a recorder, and then you're listening to it. So yeah.
Did you want to answer the what's your current favorite piece of media?
Yes. Okay. This is gonna make you laugh because it's goes back to the video thing. My current favorite piece of medium for media is videos, I think, still. And part of it is, as much as I appreciate the audio side to it, I think I will always have like a strong attraction to how, like, when you're watching different documentaries, especially about like social justice and stuff, like the ability to focus on the audio, make that good, but then also match it with photos that show so much in one, like, I don't know how to explain it, in one picture. Like, I don't know, something about that for me touches me way more when the audio is still good on it, though. So that's like something I've been exploring with when I watch I do watch a lot of documentaries. So like when I watch documentaries, when I watch them now, I'm like, how's the audio? Is this just a documentary with pictures and someone talking, or is someone actually like trying to say something? Because like there are a lot of documentaries where like you can get by just not like, you're just saying like plain stuff, right? But no one's gonna care because they're more focused on like the visual part of it. And I think Listen Up has, you know, helped me look at the audio side part of it. But, yeah.
So true. I didn't think of it that way before. Or like when I watch a documentary, I'm just like, oh, it's pictures.
Of course, you're the one who analyzes documentaries. You spend your days analyzing documentaries. That makes sense.
Do you want to ask our next question?
Sure. Okay, this is like the big question. In your ideal world, this is worded really good, so I'm going to read it.
Okay.
In your ideal world, what would youth-produced media look like? What resources would you have? Like, if nothing was out of reach, like, try to ignore the limitations that we know so well. Like, what would be your dream?
I
think
like, what would be our dream with media?
Yeah.
Like, job-wise, too.
Or
like, just
like Listen Up.
youth produced, or like not just Listen Up, but like
as a larger, like, youth-directed media.
I can go first.
Go first.
Guys, okay, my dream still is, though, is to become a film writer. And I'm not really good with cameras, but I'm like more good at like telling people how to portray certain things. So yeah, I've always wanted to, like, in a sense, be in Hollywood, not like for the fame or anything, just for the writing. So like it's more of a connection type of thing, like intimacy, as we were saying earlier, like how we do audio and stuff. Like, I love making podcasts, but I also like would love to be given the chance to make a film of something that many people can connect to, not like something that, you know, you just put out like Morbius or whatever, right? But something that people can actually connect to and talk about for future generations and whatnot. Like a piece, like, you know how a literature piece is like To Kill a Mockingbird type of thing, but like our generation, but not To Kill a Mockingbird. And another would be like, oh my god, you guys know how like talk shows were really big back then? I would love to have one.
Absolutely kill a talk show.
I know. Oh my god, I know I'd do so good. Anyways, like, I'm so good with connecting people, so I feel like if I were given the platform to do one in Minnesota, like with like NPR or WCCO, like I've worked with like people, like we all work together somehow, but like we're like, you know, Anyways.
NPR, hit her up.
Yeah, hit me up, guys. Like, we
That's
worked
fine.
together before. Let me work again.
Have we?
No, I did during 360 radio thing. And I worked with, like, one of the
She's
workers.
experienced NPR. You can literally just hire her.
Yeah. I'm right here, guys. Keenaden. Anyways. Yeah, that's my dream.
It's real.
I literally can't get my earring back in.
Does anyone else want to go?
Sure, I can go.
Or I can go if you don't.
Yeah, you should go.
Okay. I guess I'm just answering this question more like large scale, like bigger picture type of thing rather than like specific. But like when I think of youth produced media, like I'm just like, okay, one, my brain like goes into two directions. Like one, like a thing that's completely controlled by, like organized by youth. But also I'm thinking like there's that, but like there's adults who are experienced in like like every type of different field in regards to media, like podcasting, like audio, like filmmaking, you know, who are there as like mentors or like who are able to provide like lessons and like the skills, or like even able, or like shadowing. I feel like being able to shadow someone who's like in a certain field to get a gist of like what it's like to work in that and like figure out what you're interested in and want to do. And yeah, like I just picture a lot of like collaboration in youth produced media and learning obviously through trial and error, because like not everything is going to be perfect, and when you're young yeah, and just like having the resources to like have a bunch of different equipment, like the stuff that we have here. That's a big thing. Like just when you have access to those things, it's so easy to just pick it up and like start making something. So yeah, being given those things. And yeah. Oh, you're good.
Like I was gonna jump on the frog that you said. It's like the thing about equipment, right? I was talking. Yeah, have you guys seen She's Gotta Have It on Netflix?
No.
Okay. There's a connection. Okay, so like
Matey, a little bit closer to the mic.
okay. So like in She's Gotta Have It, like the show, at one point in the show, like don't ask me about the character. That's not the point. There's just one scene where she's an artist, right? She's a black woman who's an artist. That's like her life's work. And at one point she's invited to like a black artist retreat to Martha's Vineyard, right? Now the point of this is not, I'm not trying to focus on the elitism of it, or like, you know, the part of it that's like you have to like be one of like the best artists or whatever to get invited. But I like the idea that they like, you know, were invited on a 1 week retreat where they were given food, shelter, all that, and like all the resources that they needed to create their art in like these little like personal like booths or hubs or whatever you call them. They're like mini sheds, and there was paint in there, like literally every single art, like physical art form that they could use. And I always wish there was like something like that for youth, where like a retreat where we could go on, because I think for me, I come from a place of like I always want to use my free time to create, but where's the free time? Do you know what I mean? So it was like the thing when you're like, oh, when people like have the equipment, it would be so easy if they could pick it up. Like that's true, but like even sometimes when the equipments are at my fingers, I don't have the time to like, because like the world is the world, y'all.
Yeah.
And
Real.
School is school, and like I feel like, I don't know, especially lately I've just been like really seeing like life doesn't stop for you to create. So sometimes I'm like, but I wish life did stop. So like, you know, like a retreat would be, I feel like, a really good way to get people to just focus on that one thing. And I would love to see what would come out of like some sort of 1 week retreat. I feel like people would create some real cool stuff, I think. But yeah,
If people were given the time and space to like I guess decompress and really focus on something that they are, that like oh my gosh, recently I've just been like literally bursting at the seams. I need to make this film. I need to make this film. And I can't. Like there's not the resources, and if there's the resources, there's not the time. And if like And it's also like, then there's a part of me that's like, okay, well, you're not actually gonna be able to make this. Like, this is like, what? Like, there's no way this is actually gonna happen. And I really, really wish that, like, we all, like, I mean, this is where we work. Like, we have access to so much incredible stuff. And yet sometimes it still feels like it's not, like, it still feels like it's out of reach. And so, like, before Listen Up, I had, like, zero access to this. The thing is, like, there's not Listen Up for everyone, you know? Like, and I wish that, like, there was kind of like a wider understanding that, like, we have the stories, we have the experiences, we have the, like, the knowledge and the emotion and the, like we have stories we want to share if people would just, like, let us tell them in a way that feels like, you know, like, that feels that it can do our stories justice, because it, you know, like it's not like we don't have the stories. It's not like, you know, I think my dream would be that, like, we had, like, everyone who wanted to create something and share it could, and it would just be like that. Like, it would just be that. And then my, like, personal dream is I want to be a filmmaker. So, you know. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, I'm looking at the time right now, and I know we wanted to leave some room for, like, answering audience questions. So, oh, sorry. Okay, there's a question from Emily.
Okay.
That is,
Hey, Emily.
Hey.
hi, Emily. Let's see if we can get the question. Oh, what have? Could you repeat the question?
Only JC.
She has it.
Okay, I think I heard it.
I kind of heard.
I think the question is, what have you learned about yourself, your peers, and the world through producing media? All right. Oh boy, Emily, that's a big question. Oh boy.
Anyways.
Does anyone have, like, want to go first? Yeah. What have you learned about yourself, the world, or your peers through producing media?
I think something I learned is that, and I'm still learning this,
Excuse me.
is that, like, sometimes listening and, like, just sitting and, like absorbing everything someone is saying, is just as important, and if not more important than talking.
I think, yeah, I'll emphasize that. I think for me, when I thought about, like, my life goals or, like, what I imagined doing or what life means to me, I never, like, pictured listening to people or, like, wanting to hear about people's stories. But through making audio pieces and, like, producing, I realized I'm a people person. Like, I want to know the life story behind every individual that I see, or, like, when I'm driving, I'm like, how did you end up here? Like, we're both in the same place, and I don't know what you've experienced in your life, but I want to know, because I want to understand.
Like,
I want to know, like, what
explain
it
it
means
all
to be
to me.
human. And I think that's a beautiful realization that I've had.
Like, connecting back to both of you guys, same. I was like I had, like, a mind, like, I guess I thought this way in middle school until, like, Listen Up, and I joined Listen Up, like, 11th grade? Yeah, or 10th grade. 11th, one of those, okay? And I was like, oh, I'm going to be alone. I'm going to blast music, you know, emo. Anyways. And I feel like Listen Up is what made me actually want to talk to people and reach out, and that's how I became, like, very, I guess, networking. Not networking.
No, but like
Yeah, like,
networking is just making connections.
yeah, like I made so many connections with people I never thought I'd like talk to until this day. Like I have connections and I have like really good friends that I thought I'd never meet because I'm like because I used to be like the type of person, oh, like hi, then bye. So, but so now I realize I do want human connection and I do want and like I'd rather like actually like I'd actually like to learn more, as you said, like be human.
Mm-hmm.
That's so odd. Anyways, in the world, listening actually does a lot and it solves like a lot of problems too.
There'd be so
Imagine.
many less problems if people
Imagine.
sat down and listened.
Literally, all
Listen.
conflicts, everything solved. Anyway,
Drop Keen in the middle of the world with like some Starbucks and chicken nuggets.
yes,
She'd be
guys,
set. She could solve everything.
I can solve anything and everything. I'm such a good listener sometimes. But your peers through producing. Oh my God! Shout out to Emily first of all.
Oh yeah, Emily. So if anyone doesn't know who Emily is like
The owner,
the inventor, the inventor,
Yeah.
the
everything.
everything of Listen Up. So yeah.
Yeah. So basically, Emily, Tariq. I don't talk to Tariq anymore. R.I.P. But
All right.
okay, Emily, Tariq, and Anissa. Okay, and there's so many more people and people I worked with in Magazine that helped me a lot. Like Benishwe, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but basically, you guys helped me a lot with producing and giving me stuff and giving me mini culture. It's what like made me want to continue producing. So, thank you, and like drawing on iPads. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Okay, I'm just going back to what you just said because that was a real, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, you said it really well, like, just wanting to know the story of every single person you meet. And then you talking about, like realizing that you do want human connection. Like,
That is so emo.
that is, okay, but that's so real. And I think, I don't know, I think being a part of Listen Up really did form connections. I formed connections with people that I probably genuinely would not have had access to had I not.
Yeah, Miss Rosemount.
No, like I'm not even gonna lie to you. Yeah, like I am in a suburb, right? And I think I'm in a unique situation where like I did live in Minneapolis for like, you know, all my life, 11 years before I moved out to the suburbs. And I think Listen Up has been like a real genuine connection for me for like still the cities while being in wild suburbs. And I don't know, I think genuinely part of like being a part of Listen Up has kept me like sane too, like knowing like there's still people like, you know, that I like people that we meet here at Listen Up still out there in the world, because the honest to God truth is there's not the kind of individualism that I find here with my peers at like Listen Up that I do when I go to like, you know, my suburban school. So yeah, that's the main thing for me. And then for like, you know, mentors and stuff, I'm thinking back to the radio play, like that was my first time really indulging into Listen Up, and like Tara, Emily, I miss Tara.
I miss Tara so much.
Like Tara, Emily, Anissa, like all of those interactions, even Helena, like she was still she was
Helena back in
that's so real, and she was like still like, you know, a fellow youth, but like even like I learned stuff from Helena as well, just the people that were around myself and all of us during that period of time, I don't know, I think was like a formative period. But
yeah, I could write essays on the things I've learned from Helena, like and Mia. I could literally write pages and pages and pages.
I was gonna say, I thought of something.
Yeah.
I think what you were saying. Oh, human connection. I was gonna say, before, like, my whole life I've just been very like introverted. Like anxiety was something I suffered with all of middle school, and just like I know little version of me would be so like happy and like would not believe me being like right here, or, like doing what I'm doing now, and like meeting and talking with so many new people, and like just Listen Up. I love how even though like when I first joined Listen Up, it was through YMC like as a member, but then like that program ended, and then I was like no longer part of Listen Up. I mean, as an alumni, but like not actively in it.
Mm-hmm.
But even despite that, I was still like being sent opportunities and like, and I love that fact. I love
Networking.
Like,
I have a new girl quote about networking. Sorry.
okay, wait. Okay, we have 8 minutes left,
Okay.
and I know we have two more questions. We'll see if we can get answer one at least. But
Okay, what is it?
yeah, what is the question? Okay, just in general. Biggest challenge you faced
In our lives?
That's a big question.
In media?
since COVID? Okay, since COVID, what's the biggest challenge you faced in producing media? Is that the
Who asked
okay?
the question also? Does we know? Anonymous.
Loaded question.
Since the pandemic, what is the biggest challenge you faced? in
Well, I
terms
wasn't
of
producing media before the pandemic. And I probably wouldn't have been producing media
Well, I think
unless the pandemic happened, to be completely honest.
Like right
Trying to
after the
think.
pandemic, like the big hit?
since the pandemic, like so, like any time from like now, like 2020 to now.
I'm gonna be real, right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna be so real. My biggest roadblock, not only to just producing media or just existing, has been like
School.
I don't know, like genuinely the aftermath of the brain fog that happened
Yeah.
during the pandemic, which is something I feel like people don't think. Like genuinely, I still suffer from the brain fog from the pandemic because like there was a different level of productiveness I had before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit, and then
I will never get it back.
and I have never been so like such a procrastinator on like a productive procrastinator, if that makes any sense. And like that wasn't the case before the pandemic, but then after the pandemic that's been the case. So anytime I have free time now, I have like this like revenge mindset where like I have to like do something that's passive, like watching something instead of like creating, if that makes any sense. So anything that involves active like activeness in my free time, I like now see it as like work. So it's hard for me to like find joy from it. So yeah, like again, it's more about passive versus active, but
You're making everything make sense right now.
Producing
Oh my
media.
gosh. The COVID, like specifically the chunk of COVID where we weren't in school, where like literally we had no idea what to do, so we were just at home.
Yeah.
And then the Zoom era, literally I haven't, my brain, like I think like a part of my brain just has no oxygen from
No.
that now, and I'll never get it back. I'll never get it back.
I was gonna say, I think for me, like producing the biggest obstacle is just like deciding what I want to make. I think since the pandemic has happened, we had so much time alone. Therefore, I had a lot of alone time with my own thoughts and just like stuff that like I want to talk about, but there's just like too many.
Yeah,
And it's hard to like pinpoint one thing and committing to it.
for sure.
So that's a challenge.
Yeah, like going back to like both of you guys, I guess. I'd say like for Métis, like I honestly agree. Like 5 minutes. Okay. Like it's actually hard for me to now like just like rest too, because in my mindset, like during COVID, I had like schoolwork. I couldn't really rest because I was always home. Like even walking, like doing my daily walks was really hard. But honestly, like even reaching out to people for interviews during the pandemic was so hard for me. Yeah, like no, like I was working on a like this contract piece, and it was so hard reaching to people about that. And then when COVID like kind of finished, like I still couldn't enjoy watching television, so I've only watched like not television, sorry, like old shows on like streaming platforms, and that's still hard for me till this day. Like just resting. It's probably because I'm older now, because I don't have the time as much anymore. And then going back to what you were saying, like with COVID, like honestly, I think that was my best moment too, but also
The best and worst moment for a lot of
exactly, like it was honestly the best moment, like for my mentality. But like when I came to when school started again and you can go there physically, that was hard because it was foreign, because I didn't technically have like a full high school experience. But also, it was just like weird just talking to
There's a
people.
lot of transitions very close to each other, I think.
Right. and then we had the whole college process.
Could not be me.
It was actually not that bad for me. And like, I don't know, COVID honestly did so good, like so much good for me, but like there was a lot of down points for me. Like I just wanted to stay alone in my room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the last question?
Okay, we have 3 minutes left.
Yep.
Final, like, what is everyone's hope for the future? Just in, I mean, it doesn't have to be. Hey, don't be freaked out. It can be like a short-term future or long-term future. Hope for the future. Wait, is this like hope for the future in terms of like media-related stuff? Okay, let's focus in on like media-related stuff. Hope for the future. 2 minutes.
We should do like 1 to 3 words. Okay. Access and oh geez.
You don't have to limit yourself
Okay.
to.
I would say like access to making media and access to consuming it, and media created by people who who are reporting or like talking about their own communities.
A minute. Hope for the future to make an audio piece for my family and like making an art installation to go along with it.
For me, it's to make a podcast.
For me, it's to make a video piece that represents my heritage.
Oh my God, slay.
Yay.
We all want that.
Yes.
Anything else?
I also want to
I,
make
I think that's it. But okay. Thank you everyone for tuning in today
Thanks,
and
guys.
listening to us chat.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
yeah. I'm